There you are.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Welcome to another spooky Halloween edition of Otaku Evolution. As I'm sure all 5 of you that watch my videos are aware, I like to set a bone-chilling mood for this very festive of holidays, where the undead stalk the night and children's triglyceride levels spike. As you can see, I'm once again decked in my truly horrifying armor, which will prevent you from seeing my mouth moving. So I'll just have to switch from right to left every now and then. Ooh. So yeah, Penguin Truth here, and if you recall, my first year's Halloween video, back in 2014, was on the Studio Gonzo TV adaptation of Kouta Hirano's action horror manga, Hellsing. The TV series didn't have a whole lot of the manga to go on, so it sort of branched off after a while, giving us some more episodic stories like the one with the Babanshi. Sprinkled throughout were parts from the manga, but it had its own original ending involving an ancient vampire from the Dark Continent. It was a thing. It doesn't hold up super well, but even with its liberties, it's still fairly entertaining and continues to be somewhat popular. However, as the manga serialization continued, many fans were clamoring for a new animated adaptation that stuck closer to the source material. Enter Hellsing Ultimate, a 10-episode OVA that played out the story as Hirano envisioned it. It took a while for all of it to come out. The first episode came out in February of 2006, but the finale wasn't released until December 2012, and we didn't see the English dubbed version of it until October 2014. Well, at least most of the cast returned for both the Japanese and English versions. As before, Hellsing Ultimate revolves around the secret Hellsing organization that serves the British Crown, charged with defending the Empire from supernatural threats. They're led by Sir Integra Fairbrook Wingates Hellsing, who inherited leadership from her father, as well as a particularly potent living heirloom, the ancient vampire Alucard, who serves her loyally. The story really kicks off when an English village is laid waste by mindless freaks, and not the kind that root for Arsenal. What are they, though?
They're ghouls.
Funny little green ghouls.
What? Like in movies and cartoons? What?
Little green ghouls, buddy.
Don't write ghouls.
I'm not.
Anyway, Alucard shoots right through a lady officer named Seras to kill another vampire, and, taking an interest in her, sires her. She's inducted into the organization, finding herself trying to adjust to life as a bloodsucker. Difficult when she doesn't really find blood all that appealing. While her new master gleefully demonstrates what a fully fledged vampire can do, which is basically butchering a lot of people and being really smug about it. Alucard finds himself a rival in the Vatican's own brand of demon hunters, a man named Alexander Anderson, who is so Catholic, Pat Buchanan would tell him to tone it down. Old Anderson has regenerative abilities that, while very handy in combat, don't even come close to the infinite overpowered hacks of our red-garbed hero, who, well...
Cut off his head, pierced his heart. He is nothing like any vampire you've ever known. Your tricks won't kill him. You may be the fruit of the finest anti-vampire technology, but 100 years of the Hellsing family's occult knowledge produced this achievement. Our crown glory, the vampire Alucard.
The Hellsing's group only other members after a terrible massacre at Integra's estate are her butler Walter, master of cutting wires, and the mercenary group the Wild Geese, led by Pip Bernadotte. The Queen should probably have lent them some additional support, at least to fill the numbers so that they don't look like a glorified clubhouse. But it's not like they needed much, since they have Alucard, and as I said, dude is OP.
Such a shame I overestimated you. As a vampire, you were just a pathetic piece of shit. Now you're nothing but dog shit.
So we have a nigh invincible master vampire, his young charge, a team of mercs, and a deadly-ass butler. Who could possibly pose a threat to these people as they hunt down supernatural threats? Why, Nazi vampires, of course! Nazi vampires. Oh, and a Nazi werewolf. And some kind of Nazi vampire witch?
All I wanna do is see you turn into a giant woman, a giant woman. All I wanna be is someone who gets to see a giant woman.
The Millennium Group. The Millennium Group are a battalion of vampires made by order for the Third Reich, but they've been in hiding since the loss of World War II, having never been fielded. They're determined to get their war after all. Led by the mysterious Major, no, not Motoko Kusanagi, but this portly fellow, they invade London with zeppelins and sate their unquenchable bloodthirst on the unfortunate population in the most brutal manner possible. Most of the runtime is dedicated to the invasion of London by the Millennium Battalion and how the Hellsing organizations, such as they are, so few in numbers, try to fend off the Nazi Nosferatu as they lay siege to Integra's estate and attempt to take over the government as well. Complicating things is the Ninth Crusade that Anderson's boss, not being huge on interdenominational harmony, starts. So it becomes a big three-way battle for the lives and souls of the people of the Old Smoke. Well, really, it's only a three-way battle until Alucard returns to town. He spends a lot of time out at sea so that the other characters have some kind of chance to do things that aren't just backing up or being murdered by the No-Life King. Integra gets to shine as the unflinching badass mortal who snickers at death as it stares her in the face, taking charge of Anderson's troop despite their differing agendas. Seras gets to show that she's not just some whim of her master when she and the Wild Geese battle Zoran Blitz at the Hellsing house, and she finally gets her drink on. And Walter has a chance to, I don't want to spoil too much, so you'll just have to watch if you haven't. But that's weird, right? That they have to take Alucard off the table for 3 whole episodes so that other characters have a chance to participate? He's kind of the central character. Aren't they just calling attention to the fact that he's so powerful, If he were present in those episodes, this thing would have ended sooner? Hey, I'm not complaining too much. We get a lot of great material. But, maybe don't make your main character so overpowered that you have to hide him away so long. Perhaps, though, that's the point. I think part of Hellsing Ultimate speaks to the very concept of Alucard as an invincible force. He's absorbed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people over his long life, some of them even being other powerful individuals. So who could possibly hope to destroy the vampire of vampires? Well, that's just what the Major has a plan to do. And I think if you watch, you'll be impressed by his somewhat abstract, but effective approach to neutralizing Integra's thrall. He basically uses Alucard's greatest strength as his weakness, and, well, I won't spoil how it turns out, but the results are pretty fascinating. Not that this anime is particularly cerebral, mind you. It's schlocky action horror with grandiose melodrama turned up to near highest setting. It sort of reminds me of something Yasuhiro Imagawa would make. A boisterous operatic boom, though not quite as thematically meaty as Imagawa works. But like Imagawa works, it revels in its own over-the-top tension. Hellsing Ultimate is not at all shy about what it is and doesn't apologize.
Do you wish for a merciless, bloody war? A war whose fury is built with iron and lightning and fire? Do you ask for war to sweep in like a tempest, leaving not even ravens to scavenge from this earth? Krieg! 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 Very well. Then Krieg is what you shall have.
Though perhaps it should apologize for some of the poor timing of its comedy, which looks to pull funny distorted faces to lighten the mood, but often deflates the horror atmosphere. At least, like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, it's usually spaced out well enough not to interfere with the most memorable moments. It's not as though there isn't anything that can be mined for comedy in this series, but the humor in it is just not very funny.
And who the hell are you supposed to be?
I'm the spirit of your gun. You can call me Jackal, Willis. Come on, don't shoot the Willis! Stop it! Just hear the Willis out!
Comedy is relative, I guess. I mean, I think I'm pretty funny, but I've been told that I am as funny as a small child crying over an empty pet carrier in the waiting room of a veterinarian. I'm as amusing as a reconciling text sent just before an accident. I'm as humorous as a photo album of a recent trip to Yemen. Yikes. Even I think these are dark. Ooh, ooh. Happy Halloween. If Hellsing Ultimate has any real theme, it's about the difference between being a human or being a monster. In the past, Alucard threw away his humanity out of disdain, but Integra's father, Arthur, believed that our sanguine sanguisuge and his kind are actually to be pitied to some degree for their desperate clinging to their unlives, as if too afraid to face mortality, or seeking death and not finding it after regretting their transformation. As haughty and arrogant as Alucard can be, there's a hint of sadness and resignation in him, which is why he's so offended when others throw away their humanity so cavalierly to gain more power or their lives to avoid suffering. Alucard has a certain code of honor he lives by. Even if he can be cruel and merciless, he's respectful to admirable enemies, to those who stick by their principles and face the outcomes of their actions without reservation. He even recognizes this in the Major, who, while irredeemably evil on one hand, is simultaneously a force of human will on the other, having rejected to take the blood that would have made him likewise immortal. It is the Major's belief that Alucard's pitiful undead existence is intolerable, which is why his destruction became an objective during the war he waged against London. He gives an interesting speech to this effect in the final act. Integra has her own rejoinder to his words, but again, I'll let you experience it on your own. The point carried throughout the storyline is Alucard's continued belief that only a human can truly destroy a monster. It's why he considers himself merely a weapon in Integra's hands. Hellsing Ultimate has enough character development and arcs for most of the main characters, and even occasionally a side one. And though it is big, loud, and kind of stupid, it's nonetheless compelling in its authenticity. You want to see Dracula in a red coat squaring off against killer crusaders and Teutonic terrors? You want to see blimps get shot down by a large-breasted vampire police girl? Want to see countless French mercenaries mowed down? Fancy some of the most over-the-top gory violence put to animation? Then Hellsing Ultimate is for you. A trick and a treat. Well, that wraps up this year's Halloween video. Let's hope I can get more than one video done next month. Yeesh. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go listen to my favorite horror-themed fictional band. Happy Halloween!
Down, down! Left, right! Bringing the motherfucking death by Konami. Oh, I'm so fucking hard right now.
Oh, we are the working dead, and we lurch for minimum wage. But I'd really rather be eating your brain.